My dear students, Assalamu alaikum. I am Sir Mazhar from Nova CSS Academy, Islamabad, and in this video I will tell you how to write the conclusion or a good conclusion of your essay. You know that writing a conclusion is mandatory in case of essay writing examinations. You also know that the size of the conclusion is always commensurate with the size of your essay. For example, if you are writing an essay for the IELTS examination in which it is recommended that you write an essay of 250 words, you write your conclusion only in the form of one last or two sentences. However, in the case of the CSS comparative examination, the candidates are asked to write an essay of 2,500 to 3,000 words. In case of the CSS comparative examination, I recommend that for an essay of this size, you are supposed to write one last formal paragraph of conclusion whose size should not be less than 150 words. Writing a conclusion is mandatory, and without a conclusion, your essay is always considered incomplete. In these papers, I have seen that many students keep on writing unnecessary things in the main body of the essay. They keep on creating some of the unnecessary paragraphs in the main body of the essay, and they waste all of their time, because of which they are unable to write the conclusion of their paragraph, what to talk about a good conclusion. I would very strongly recommend that conclusion is so important that you can miss writing one last paragraph in the main body of your essay if you have already discussed some of the important points of your essay. But please do not compromise or miss writing a good conclusion of the essay. Even if you write only 5 to 6 sentences in case of conclusion, your essay would become complete. Without conclusion, your essay would be considered incomplete, and there would be a lot of damage that you will have to suffer if you do not put the right conclusion at the end of your essay. You also know that there are different types of essays, and there are different types of conclusions suitable for each different type of the essay. So far as the different types of the essays are concerned, you know that there is a descriptive essay, there is an expository essay, there is an argumentative essay, there is a discursive essay, there can be an autobiographical essay or a biographical essay, a literary essay, a reflective essay, and certain other kinds of the essay. However, when it comes to the essay writing examination in the CSS comparative examination, then there are three major kinds of the essay which the students are supposed to produce in their examination. One of these major kinds of essays which appear in the CSS comparative examination is called the expository essay. Another kind of the essay which you are supposed to produce is called the argumentative essay. A third kind of the essay which also appears in the CSS examination or PMS comparative examinations is called a two-sided discussion essay, or in general parlance it is called the double argumentative essay. In this video, I will tell you how to write a good conclusion for each of these different types of essays. First of all, I take up the example of an expository essay, and you know that in case of an expository essay, you are supposed to explain a process or a phenomenon or a system. The examples can be the civil-military relations in Pakistan. Another example can be the scourge of domestic violence in Pakistan. A third example can be the economic warfare in the 21st century. In an expository essay, you make an explanation of the topic. I am very much sure that most of you already know that while writing an essay on, say, the economic warfare in the 21st century, you will definitely explain the trade war between China and the United States of America. I also know that most of you will also discuss the currency manipulation among China, America, and Russia. You will also talk about the use of economic sanctions by the United States of America against Russia and Iran and certain other countries. You will also elaborate India's attempt to push Pakistan into the grey list of the Financial Action Task Force, or FATF, and so on. Now consider that when it comes to writing the conclusion of such an essay, say the same essay which is the economic warfare in the 21st century, what the students do while writing a conclusion is that they simply make a generalized summary comprising a catalog of all of these examples which they have already explained in the previous part of their essay. My dear students, please notice one thing, that making just a summary comprising the catalog of all of these examples which have already been explained in the main body of the essay will not make a sound conclusion of this essay. If you pick up a dictionary and look up the meanings of summary and conclusion, you will find certain differences. If you make a summary of all the facts and figures and examples and you consider this to make a good conclusion of this essay, you are at a mistake. In this case, it may be called a summary, but it is not a summary of the catalog of the examples which you have already explained. Rather, your conclusion should be a summary of the main points of your essay. It is a summary of the concepts which you have explained in case of the economic warfare in the 21st century. I will actually make this point further clear to you by presenting to you two different types of conclusions for this type of essay. First of all, I will share with you the conclusion which is generally made by the students, in which they simply catalog different examples which have already been discussed in the previous part of the essay. First, I will present a model of this type of conclusion, and then I will tell you about another type of conclusion which I consider to be better than the first type of conclusion. So this is the first type of conclusion which needs further improvement. In conclusion, scared of the threat of assured mutual destruction promised by the nuclear war, the great powers have locked their horns in an economic warfare. In this essay, we have seen that China and America are fighting a trade war to destabilize each other's economy. There is also a currency war going on among China, Russia, and America. Another form of this war is the use of economic sanctions by the United States of America against Russia and Iran. Similarly, India's efforts in the past to push Pakistan into the grey list of Financial Action Task Force was also an act of India's economic warfare against Pakistan. And some more examples. And then I write, all of the examples explain how the great powers are fighting an economic warfare in the 21st century. Pakistan is also a victim of this economic warfare. It is important that the countries vulnerable to this economic warfare should make ingenious strategies to keep their populations out of the harm's way. Dear students, you might have noticed that in this type of conclusion, which is done by most of the candidates as per my information, the students are simply cataloging all the examples which they have already discussed in the main body of their essay. I believe that the conclusion of this essay, which is the economic warfare in the 21st century, should be of this type. After writing all these paragraphs on all these points which I have stated before you, I will conclude my essay in these words. I read it for you. In conclusion, we come to understand that with the advent of the 21st century, the global powers entered the arena of economic warfare in which the dynamics of power, rivalry, and hegemony are economic maneuvering and financial manipulation. Scared of the assured mutual destruction promised by the nuclear warfare, the great powers have changed the rules of war. The battlefields of the new economic warfare are not geographical territories but banks, economic organizations, international financial institutions, and cyberspace. Now, instead of using nuclear weapons, fighter jets, warships, submarines, and ballistic missiles, the great powers are using trade organizations, economic sanctions, currency manipulations, and tariff regimes to subdue the rival nations. The new economic warfare is being conducted by restricting shipping routes, embargoing imports and exports of enemy states, and curtailing energy supplies to economic competitors. Although we do not hear the thunder of fighter jets and explosions of cluster bombs, yet the sufferings of the nations entangled in this economic warfare are not less painful than conventional wars. You see that in this example of conclusion, instead of making a catalogue of all the examples of the trade war between China and the United States of America, or the currency manipulation, or India's efforts in putting Pakistan into the grey list of FATF, or the slapping of economic sanctions by America against Iran, I have not used a summary of all these examples, but I have made a summary of the concepts related to the economic warfare in the 21st century. You also need to understand that while writing a conclusion, there is no need at all to put a heading before this paragraph. There also is an important thing that while starting your paragraph of conclusion, you can use the words like summing up, or in conclusion, or while concluding, etc. One very important thing about your conclusion is that its tone should be generalized. Another very important thing is that you also consider that you have to tie up your conclusion with the introduction of the essay. In this way, I can say that the conclusion can be taken as the younger sister of introduction. In conclusion, you sum up the actual concepts of the explanation of the topic. And now I tell you how to write the conclusion of an argumentative essay, or in common parlance it is called the single argumentative essay. An argumentative essay is that essay in which you are supposed to take a position about a topic, which can be a topic like justice delayed is justice denied. In this case of essay, you first of all build your introduction, and after the introduction you come up with all different types of examples which you can use to make arguments in different paragraphs to justify this one statement or this one stance. Please always keep in your mind that in this type of essay, the main body would always comprise different arguments, which are different examples in which you will make use of the reasoning, which is inductive reasoning, to justify this general truth that justice delayed actually means denial of justice. You will also use one last sentence to hook this paragraph with the introduction or with the thesis statement, which is exactly the same thing, which is the topic of an argumentative essay. I believe that in this type of essay, you will come up with 7, 8, or 9 different types of examples to justify your argument. After you have completed your essay, you will land into the last paragraph, which is the paragraph of conclusion. Now, in case of the conclusion for an argumentative essay, you once again reiterate the main thesis or the main argument, and then you come up with general rationale or general reasoning on the basis of which you believe that your argument stands justified. This is all what you are supposed to do in the case of the conclusion of such an argumentative essay. You must also note that in some cases of the argumentative essay, you can also introduce a refutation section or a paragraph on counter-argumentation in which you come up with an opposing thought to the main thought given in the form of the thesis of your essay. But always keep in your mind, you will do this thing just before the final paragraph of conclusion, after sufficiently supporting your main argument with all the examples. One very important thing is that when you will introduce a refutation section, you will not justify it. You would introduce only the opposite argument. You will make its evaluation. You will criticize it. And through its criticism, you will once again lead your readers to follow your main thesis or main point of view, on which you have given so many arguments in the main body of the argumentative essay. And in the conclusion, you will once again reiterate your main argument and also give its rationale, and also once again declare why the opposite argument does not hold water. Here is my conclusion for this type of essay. Summing up, we come to understand that delay in the provision of justice to a victim is tantamount to the denial of justice to them. Provision of timely justice to the victim is the only criterion on the basis of which justice can be called justice. All the reasons behind a delay in justice, whether justified or unjustified, do not falsify the fact that justice is of no use if it is provided after the lapse of an unreasonable time. It does not mean that a dispute should be decided in haste without considering crucial evidence or facts and figures. The quality of justice should be ensured after making due considerations of the evidence, but all the requirements of justice should be fulfilled within a reasonable time. Delay beyond a reasonable time makes the justice useless even if it is of the best quality. A right decision made by the people entrusted with the task of providing justice will be beneficial for the victim and the society at large if it is made within a reasonable time. My dear students, now I will tell you how to write the conclusion of a double-sided discussion essay or a double argumentative essay as it is known in common parlance. Let's take one example as, is online education more effective than on-campus education? Question mark. Because in this type of essay, there would be two opposite arguments tied together in such a way that there is a question mark to be answered in favor of the first argument or the second argument. Now let's consider that we are writing an essay on the same topic, which is online education more effective than on-campus education? After introducing this question and all about the on-campus education and online education in the introductory part of the essay, I will enter the main discussion part of this essay. First of all, I may take up one side of the argument. Say, in this case, first of all, I take up the side of the argument in which I try to justify the effectiveness of the online education. After the introduction, I will introduce that there are certain benefits and advantages of the online education. After dealing with the advantages of the online education, I will also enumerate some of the disadvantages of the online education in the next part of this essay. After dealing with the disadvantages of the online education, now I will introduce some of the advantages of the on-campus education in the next part of the essay. And after enumerating some of the important benefits of the on-campus education, I will enter the next part of this essay in which I will enumerate some of the drawbacks of the on-campus education. And now my discussion about both of these opposite arguments is complete. While I will enter the last part of this essay, which is the very important conclusion of this type of essay, I will once again put both of the discussions in very general times opposite to each other, and I will make my net result of this discussion and the final decision in favor of one of these two mutually conflicting arguments. For example, ultimately I decide on the basis of whatever arguments I have made in favor of the benefits of online education. Maybe I believe that the benefits of the on-campus education are smaller than the benefits of the online education. Similarly, I also believe that the disadvantages of online education are less than the disadvantages of the on-campus education. That's why I will finally decide this case in favor of the effectiveness of online education. And I will make a conclusion of this essay in this way. We conclude that though there are benefits as well as drawbacks of both online and on-campus education, yet the comparisons and contrasts of the two different modes of education in the previous paragraphs make it evident that online education is more effective than on-campus education. On-campus education is more expensive and limited to a few hours inside the four walls of the classroom, whereas online education is available 24/7 for everyone, everywhere. Though there are some disadvantages of online education as well, yet they can be minimized with better management and better internet facilities, which are improving in every part of the world at a fast pace. The arguments submitted before make it quite convincing that online education is the future of learning and knowledge. My dear students, I am very hopeful that this video would have given you a great deal of help to understand how to write the right conclusion for the kind of essay that you have chosen in your examination. I hope that with all these cares, you will be able to manage the best conclusion of your essay, and you will always impress and satisfy your examiners, and they would grant you very high marks in the paper of essay writing. Hoping for your success in the CSS comparative examination, I say Allah Hafiz to all of you.